Welcome back, everybody. Today we're going to be diving deep into the world of soft brew coffee.
Sounds refreshing.
Yeah, and I love my iced coffee, so I'm really excited to learn more about this.
Absolutely. And it's interesting
Yeah.
because we've got some great research here from our listener, and they seem to be really looking for a clear understanding of what exactly is soft brew.
Yeah, I'm curious.
How does it actually stack up against all those other brewing methods out there? And, does it really live up to all the hype?
Right, because we see it everywhere now.
Exactly.
So before we get into all that good stuff, why don't you introduce yourself to everyone?
Sure. So I'm a coffee connoisseur, I guess you could say.
I think that's a very appropriate title.
I've spent years exploring different brewing methods, origins, roasts, you name it.
Wow, that's impressive.
And I'm excited to share some of my knowledge with you today and help demystify this whole soft brew thing.
Awesome. I'm so glad you're here.
It's a pleasure to be here.
So let's jump right in. One thing that really surprised me when I was looking at the research our listener sent is that soft brew is not actually a new thing.
That's right. It's actually kind of a rediscovery of one of the earliest methods of coffee preparation.
Really? I had no idea.
Yeah, we're talking centuries ago, even before percolating became popular.
Wow.
So it's fascinating how what's old is new again, right?
It is.
And we're going to explore, why this ancient technique is having such a resurgence today.
I'm excited to learn more about that.
Me too.
But okay, so first things first.
Yeah.
What exactly is soft brew coffee?
Well, in the simplest terms, soft brew is basically removing the heat from the brewing process.
Okay, so no more boiling water.
Exactly. Instead of using hot water, it relies on time and either cold or room temperature water to extract all those delicious flavors from the coffee beans.
Oh, so it's like cold brew.
Yes, you could say that cold brew is a type of soft brew, but soft brew isn't limited to only cold temperatures.
Okay, so there's more to it.
There is, yeah. It can also involve using room temperature water, offering a wider range of brewing possibilities.
That's really interesting.
It is, yeah.
I've been seeing soft brew popping up in a lot of those, what are they called, like wellness drinks and stuff lately.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Is there any truth to those health claims that they're making?
That's a great question, and it's something that a lot of people are curious about.
For sure.
I think it's important to remember that just because you add a bunch of vitamins and minerals to a beverage
Right.
doesn't necessarily make it some kind of health miracle.
Makes sense.
It's like thinking you can get the same benefits from a vitamin pill as you would from actually eating a carrot,
I get it.
And the research that you actually provided actually makes this really interesting comparison to orange juice.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it says, it might have some benefits, but it's not a replacement for a balanced diet.
I see.
Yeah, so it's all about balance.
Right, everything in moderation.
Exactly.
Okay, so before we actually get into how to make soft brew,
Okay.
let's address kind of a common misconception I think a lot of people have.
Sure.
Does soft brew magically reduce the caffeine content?
Well, that's a myth that we definitely need to debunk.
Yeah.
While the brewing temperature does have an impact on how much caffeine is extracted,
Uh-huh.
soft brew doesn't actually remove it entirely.
Oh, so I can still get my caffeine fix.
Absolutely. It's more about a shift in the flavor profile.
Okay.
And you might actually be surprised to know that you can achieve similar caffeine levels in soft brew as you would with a traditional hot brew.
Really?
Yeah, it all just depends on factors like your steeping time and the coffee to water ratio.
Okay.
So it's not a magic caffeine reducing potion, but it does offer a different kind of coffee experience.
I like the sound of that.
Yeah, so are you ready to learn how to make this magical elixir at home?
I am. I'm very curious now. Lay it on me.
Okay, well, get ready because it's actually surprisingly simple.
Okay.
All you really need are your favorite coffee grounds, a container, and some water.
Really? That's it? No fancy equipment?
Not necessarily. Of course, there are dedicated soft brew machines out there,
Right?
but you can totally start with just basic tools that you probably already have in your kitchen.
Awesome. So walk me through it. How do I do it?
All right, so you simply mix your coffee grounds with water,
Okay.
let it steep for about 12 to 24 hours,
Okay.
and then you just filter it.
That's it.
That's it. It's like magic, but with coffee.
Okay, so that long steeping time is kind of intriguing to me.
It's the key to the whole process.
What's happening during that time?
So as the coffee sits there steeping, the dissolved gases in the water slowly reach an equilibrium.
Okay.
And this creates a sort of vacuum effect,
Interesting.
which contributes to that smoother, less acidic taste that people often associate with soft brew.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, it's all about slow and steady extraction.
So it's all about patience.
Exactly.
Speaking of patience, what about the foam? I know some people love that foamy crema. on their espresso.
Ah, the crema.
But I remember reading something kind of surprising in the research about coffee foam in general.
Yes. That's one of the fun facts that I always love sharing with people.
Spill the beans.
So the foam that we typically see in coffee, that crema, it's actually made up of dead skin cells.
Wait, what?
Yeah, I know it sounds a little weird when you first hear it.
Not gonna lie, that's not exactly what I want to picture while I'm enjoying my morning coffee.
I get it, it's definitely not the most appetizing image, but it is completely natural.
I guess so.
And honestly, once you get past the initial shock of it,
Right?
you might actually appreciate the smoother, less foamy nature of soft brew even more.
Okay, that's a good point.
Plus, let's be real, cleanup is way easier without all that foam.
True.
So maybe it's a win-win situation.
I can get behind that.
Yeah,
So you mentioned flavor a couple of times.
Yeah.
And, for me, that's really what it's all about.
absolutely.
So how does soft brew actually compare to other brewing methods when it comes to taste?
That's a great question, and it's really at the heart of why people are so drawn to soft brew. So different brewing methods actually extract different flavor compounds from the beans.
Okay.
Think of it like this.
Good.
Espresso, which is like a super fast infusion,
Mm.
it tends to highlight those bright acidic notes.
Right, kind of like a punch in the face.
Exactly. And then on the other hand, something like a French press, which is a much slower infusion,
Yeah.
gives you a more rounded, full-bodied cup.
Okay, I see the difference.
Right. And so where does soft brew fit into all of this?
Right, that's my question.
Well, with its long, cold, or room temperature steep, it actually falls somewhere in between.
Okay,
It's known for having a richer, more balanced flavor profile.
that sounds good to me.
And you mentioned you enjoy fruity notes in your coffee, right?
I do, yeah.
This method might really bring those out.
Oh, now I'm really interested.
So it's all about finding what works for your taste buds.
I can already picture myself enjoying a glass of soft brew on like a warm afternoon.
Sounds perfect.
So soft brew, cold brew, we've kind of touched on that, but how does it stack up against what we typically call hard brew or just conventional drip coffee?
Right. So that's the other big comparison.
Yeah.
And the main difference really lies in the filtration process.
Okay.
Hard brew typically uses metal filters, which can sometimes impart some metallic notes to the coffee.
Yeah, I've noticed that sometimes.
Yeah, and it also tends to extract more oils, which affects both the flavor and the mouthfeel.
Makes sense. So what are the main benefits then of choosing soft brew over hard brew?
Well, a lot of people are really drawn to soft brew for its smoother, less acidic taste,
Okay.
especially if they're sensitive to bitterness.
Right.
And as we already talked about, the reduced foam makes for way easier cleanup.
Sure.
But I'm guessing you're also thinking, are there any drawbacks?
Well, there's always a catch, right?
Right, so one thing to consider is that soft brew can sometimes require a bit more ground coffee per cup,
Okay.
which could impact your budget, of course.
That's fair.
But the research you provided had this really clever workaround.
Oh, what's that?
Buying whole beans and grinding them yourself.
Oh, that makes sense.
Which can actually be more cost-effective in the long run.
And you get that fresh ground aroma every morning.
Exactly. It's a win-win.
That's a great tip.
Yeah.
So if someone's ready to take the plunge into soft brew, what kind of equipment do they really need?
Well, the good news is there's a whole range of options out there.
That's good.
From simple stainless steel models
Okay.
to high-end machines with all the bells and whistles.
Fancy.
The research you shared actually recommends doing your research and reading reviews,
Always a good idea.
especially for those third-party brands,
Right.
and to pay really close attention to customer service.
Yeah, because a good coffee brewer is an investment.
It is.
You want to make sure you're getting one that's going to last and make a great cup of coffee.
Exactly.
But, okay, let's say I'm not ready to invest in a whole new brewer.
Yeah.
Can I still try the soft brew thing out?
Absolutely. You can definitely experiment with making soft brew using that simple method we talked about earlier.
Just with my French press or whatever.
Exactly.
Awesome. So once I have my setup, what's next?
Well, then it's all about experimentation.
Sounds fun.
Try different brands of coffee, different roasts. The possibilities are endless.
I like that.
The research even suggests considering your personal preferences, like maybe instant coffee if you're craving something creamy,
Oh, interesting.
or a capsule style if you're more focused on those potential health benefits.
There's a whole world out there.
There is. It sounds like you're ready to dive headfirst into this world of soft brew.
I think I am.
It's exciting.
Yeah, I'm definitely feeling inspired to try it myself now.
I love to hear that.
This has been super informative already.
It's great to talk about it.
And, we've covered a lot of ground.
We have.
From debunking myths to, exploring the unique flavor profile of soft brew and even uncovering that shocking fact about coffee foam.
It's been a wild ride.
But stay tuned, folks, because there's still so much more to discuss,
Absolutely.
including that fascinating relationship between brewing temperature and flavor.
That's a big one.
So we'll be right back after a quick break.
So you mentioned the relationship between brewing temperature and flavor before the break.
Yeah, I'm really curious about that.
And that's actually where the science of coffee gets super interesting.
Ooh, science.
Different temperatures can extract different compounds from those beans,
Okay.
which leads to like a whole spectrum of different flavor profiles.
So is there like an ideal temperature for soft brew then?
That's a great question. And honestly, it really depends on your personal preferences and also the type of coffee that you're using.
Okay.
So experimenting with different temperatures
Yeah,
is a great way to discover what you enjoy the most.
makes sense.
And that's one of the beautiful things about soft brew.
Yeah,
It allows for so much flexibility and control over your final cup.
I like that.
You know,
Yeah.
you're the master of your own coffee destiny.
I like the sound of that.
Right.
Okay, so you mentioned before the break
Yeah.
that hard brew, with its metal filters and slower processing, can sometimes result in a more bitter or metallic taste.
Right.
Is that related to the higher brewing temperature?
That's a really great observation, and you're absolutely right.
Okay.
The type of filter, the water temperature, and the brewing time all play a role in shaping that final flavor.
Wow, so it's like a delicate dance.
It is. It's a delicate dance between science and your own personal
I
preference.
see, so it's not just one thing. That's a
Exactly.
combination of everything.
It's like a symphony of flavors.
I like that. Okay, so you also mentioned that soft brew tends to produce a smoother, less acidic cup.
Right.
Does that mean it can't be bold or full-bodied?
Not at all.
Okay,
While soft brew is often associated with smoother flavors,
right.
it can definitely be bold and full-bodied as well.
Oh, good.
Yeah. The choice of your beans and the brewing method you use can significantly impact that final result.
Yeah.
You know, for example, using a darker roast with a longer steeping time
Yeah.
can create a much richer, more intense cup.
Oh, okay, that's good to know.
Yeah.
I'm starting to see why people are so into this whole soft brew thing.
It's catching on.
It seems like it offers a lot of control
Yeah.
over the flavor.
Absolutely.
And it seems pretty approachable even for someone who's new to coffee brewing.
Definitely. And it's a great way to just discover new flavors, aromas,
Ooh.
your favorite coffees, you know?
Yeah.
You might be surprised at how different a coffee can actually taste when brewed using soft brew compared to traditional methods.
I can imagine.
It's a whole new world.
You've mentioned experimentation a lot.
I have.
And I have to say, I'm getting pretty curious to try it myself.
Good.
Do you have any tips for getting started with soft brew experimentation?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
I think a great starting point is to simply choose a coffee that you already enjoy.
Okay, so something familiar.
Exactly. And try brewing it using that basic soft brew method we talked about earlier.
Okay.
And then pay really close attention to how the flavor differs from your usual brewing method.
Okay, like a side-by-side comparison.
Exactly. And then from there, you can start experimenting with different variables,
Okay.
like the steeping time, the water temperature, even the grind size.
So many things to play with.
It's a journey of discovery.
I like that. So it's not just about following a recipe.
Not at all. It's about finding what works for you.
Okay, I'm excited.
And remember, there are no right or wrong answers when it comes to taste.
That's good because I don't want to mess it up.
It's all about finding what you enjoy the most.
So just have fun with it.
Exactly.
This is making me think back to that question I had earlier
Yeah.
about the impact of brewing temperature
Right.
on acidity and bitterness.
Uh-huh.
Is there like a general rule of thumb there?
Generally speaking, higher temperatures tend to extract more of those acids and bitter compounds, which can lead to a sharper, more intense flavor.
Right.
But it's not a simple linear relationship.
Okay.
There's definitely a sweet spot where those bitter notes are balanced by the other flavors, creating a more harmonious cup.
So it's not just about the temperature itself.
Right.
It's about the balance of all the flavors.
Exactly. And that's where your personal preference really comes in.
Right.
Some people love a bold, robust flavor with a pronounced bitterness,
Okay.
while others prefer a milder, more mellow experience.
Right. To each their own.
Exactly.
And this makes me think about the research that you shared,
Yeah.
which suggested trying different types of coffee with soft brew.
It's a good idea.
It seems like a lighter roast might highlight those more delicate floral notes,
Huh.
while a darker roast could bring out like chocolatey or nutty flavors.
You're absolutely right.
Okay, cool.
And the beauty of soft brew is that it tends to produce a smoother, less acidic cup, which allows those subtle nuances to really shine through. It's almost like a blank canvas for the coffee beans to really express their unique character.
I love that.
Right.
I'm starting to see a pattern here.
What's that?
It seems like soft brew is all about
Yeah.
slowing down, paying attention to the details, and really savoring the experience.
You nailed it.
I feel very zen right now.
Good. It's about taking the time to really appreciate all those nuances of flavor and aroma that coffee has to offer.
Yeah.
And, it's about finding joy in the process of experimentation and discovery.
Feel very inspired.
That's the spirit. So before we wrap up this part of our deep dive,
Okay.
do you have any other words of wisdom
Yeah.
for our listener who's ready to embark on their soft brew adventure?
I love that. Soft-brewed venture.
Right. I would simply encourage them to embrace the joy of exploration.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to try new things, adjust those variables, and just see what delights their palate.
Okay.
The world of coffee is vast and it's ever evolving.
Right.
And there's always something new to learn and to savor.
I like that a lot, and I feel like that applies to more than just coffee.
Absolutely.
It's about approaching life with a sense of curiosity
Yes.
and a willingness to try new things.
I couldn't agree more.
Well said. Now, are you ready to move on to the final part of our deep dive,
Let's do it.
where we'll kind of recap everything we've learned
Okay.
and leave our listener with some, thought-provoking questions to ponder?
I like it.
Awesome. I'm eager to hear what final insights you have to share about this whole world of soft brew coffee.
All right, let's do it.
Well, here we are at the final part of our deep dive into the world of soft brew coffee.
I can't believe how fast that went.
Me neither. It's been a great conversation.
Yeah, so much to talk about.
But, let's take a moment to kind of recap everything we've learned today.
Okay, so we started by uncovering the history of soft brew.
Right, like way back in the day.
We debunked those common myths about caffeine,
Yeah, I was surprised by that.
and we explored that surprisingly simple brewing process.
Which really anyone can do at home.
Absolutely, with just a few basic tools.
It's really fascinating to me that soft brew isn't this newfangled thing,
It's true.
like I initially thought it was.
Yeah, it's more like a modern take on an ancient tradition.
I like that. It's like coming full circle.
Exactly. And we also delved into, the science behind all those different brewing methods.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
And how they actually impact that flavor extraction.
Right. Like, who knew there was so much to it?
And of course, how could we forget that surprising fact about coffee foam?
Oh, yeah, that was a good one.
Definitely not something I expected to learn today either.
Me neither. But, it's a good reminder
Yeah,
that there's always something new to discover,
always.
even in something as familiar as a cup of coffee.
Absolutely. And speaking of new discoveries, I'm still thinking about how that brewing temperature
Yeah.
affects the acidity and the bitterness.
It's really interesting to me.
Yeah, it's complex, but I think the key takeaway is that finding the sweet spot is really all about balance. A slightly lower temperature in soft brew can actually help highlight the coffee's unique characteristics
Yeah.
without kind of overwhelming your palate with that bitterness.
So it's about letting those subtle nuances really shine through.
Exactly. And as you embark on your own soft brew experiments,
I'm excited to.
I encourage you to really embrace that whole journey of discovery.
Yeah, just have fun with it.
Pay attention to how those different variables affect the taste, the aroma, the overall experience.
Right, it's all connected.
Yeah, maybe even keep a little coffee journal
Oh, that's a great idea.
to track your findings and what you like.
I might even start one myself.
Do it.
So as we wrap up here, what else should our listener kind of keep in mind
Yeah.
as they explore the world of soft brew?
Well, I think the most important thing to remember
Yeah,
is that there are no right or wrong answers when it comes to taste.
that's good to hear.
It's all about finding what brings you joy.
Okay.
So don't be afraid to try new things, adjust those variables, and just discover what truly delights your palate.
I love that. It's like a life lesson in a coffee cup.
Right. Like soft brew is a reflection of life itself.
Yeah.
Taking the time to slow down, appreciate the little things, and create something beautiful and unique. I love that analogy. And it's a good reminder that even the simplest things, like a cup of coffee, can hold like endless possibilities for
Right.
exploration and enjoyment.
Well said. And on that note, I think we've reached the end of our deep dive into this world of soft brew coffee.
Sad to see it go.
I know, but it's been a great journey.
It has.
I hope you found this exploration as enlightening as I did.
I think our listeners are going to love it.
Me too. And until next time, may your coffee be delicious,
Yes.
your curiosity boundless, and your days filled with all those delightful discoveries.
Cheers